up, YouTube? I'm Charmaine Jamil, and welcome to my new 10-minute chat series. I wanted to bring a series to my YouTube channel where I was able to share some of my life experiences and how I really kind of carved out space in my life to really be intentional and actively involved in taking charge of my life, because it really was my mission and my goal to really become the person who I was designed and destined to be in life. As you're viewing these particular videos in this series, that's really my hope for you, that you also gain clarity and confidence and really seek out who you were designed and destined to be as well. But for me, my journey really started in 2014. I had a run-in with depression, and I really didn't even know what was happening to me. I just knew that I was unhappy in my life, and I really didn't have language to describe what I was feeling. I did try to describe what I was feeling to someone. The only thing I could say to them was that I felt like I was in a dark hole, and if I looked up, I could see light, but I just didn't know how to get to that light. So I didn't have any other language aside from that. And, you know, where I'm from a more rural area, so we didn't really talk about, you know, therapy or our feelings or our emotions. You just kind of sucked it up, pulled it together, and kept it moving. So I really didn't have language for what I was going through. Just to kind of paint a picture for you, I was a teacher at the time, and I was on a 180-day calendar contract, which is really the usual contract for teachers in my state. And so at that particular school year, I had called out 90 days where I had missed work because I just did not want to go to work. I was just sad all the time. And I was just really unhappy that it would be natural that I would feel that I could reach out to family or reach out to friends or, you know, find some type of healthcare provider that could support me. I was really shocked about the response that I received when I did that. And so some of the things that I got was, you know, I needed to find a boyfriend. You know, if I had a boyfriend, I wouldn't be unhappy, and, you know, we can set that particular suggestion to the side because that was not the case. Another thing that I was really surprised about is one of my family members, once I was kind of sharing some of the things that was happening in my life at the time, they kind of, you know, did a Uno reverse on me and started telling people that they knew that I had a mental illness, or falsely telling them that I had a mental illness. And so, of course, that made me, you know, cram up and shut down even more and not really wanting to seek out help. And it really wasn't until I started to become dependent on alcohol to really, you know, drown my emotions, because alcohol put me to sleep. And I was happy to go to sleep, so I didn't have to feel the emotion of always being sad all of the time. And it was at that point that I just knew, okay, you need to figure some things out. I did end up going to a therapist, or trying to find some type of therapy or counseling. And I was a little shocked about what I received, you know, in that experience as well. Because I went to the therapist and they actually refunded me my session fee because, you know, that particular counselor told me that there was nothing wrong with me and I was just going through growing pains. And I was just kind of like, are you kidding me? So I have a school counseling degree. I do not have a clinical counseling degree, but in the back of my mind, I knew if a student ever came to me and said that they had, you know, a problem or something was going on, I knew that that was not my duty to tell them that there was nothing wrong with them and they were just going through growing pains. So essentially what I had to do was really kind of tap into my own training and really figure out and take control of what was happening. And I really started with looking at the negativity and positivity that I had going on in my life. I'm going to share these particular steps that I did, and hopefully this can be some kind of groundwork maybe for you if that's something that you feel that you are going through right now. But this is just kind of a recommendation. So essentially what I did, I first started with my self-awareness. And I say that about my own self-awareness. I really wanted to figure out how could I advocate for myself against the people and things and my own actions that I was doing in my own life that were either, bringing in these negative vibes and actions, and or bringing in positive vibes or actions. Gain my self-awareness, I basically recorded and really observed my day-to-day activities based on these 3 questions. So the first question was, what are my conversations like with people? Because I specifically wanted to know what actual value was I getting out of the people that I was speaking to on a day-to-day basis, but also on the flip side, what value was I giving to the conversation as well? So after I kind of wrote some things down, after I did some observations, and I observed myself for about a good 30 days, really trying to stay authentic and really stick to the task at hand. Did my personal nature change, to fuel a downward spiral of negativity that I was already kind of sulking in? Because then that would show me the next question. What access points does negativity have to access me? Because if I know those access points, I would be able to create an exit plan for those and really kind of cut those access points off. Last question was, what type of words do I say to myself? Do my words continually support the negative downward spiral in the feelings that I was already kind of sitting in? So I really had to ask myself these 3 questions and observe those questions. Because after I could visually see on paper my responses to these questions and really could begin to point out some of the patterns, who I was talking to, what I was doing, where I was at, then I could put in play my next action, which was, what are my options here? I knew where I lived and worked was not supportive of how I was feeling and was a contributing factor to my depression. And so I took upon my option to find renters to live in my house, and I ended up moving back home as an adult with my parents. Now let me tell you, that's a whole different story for a whole different day, being an adult living with your parents. However, that was one of the options that I had at the time, and I did take it. That I understand hindsight, the negative experiences from that and the positive experiences from that really was kind of the foundation of me trying to get out of what was comfortable. And so it was important for me to figure out what my options were, because, really much of the time we feel that we're stuck is because we feel that we have no other option than to be in state in with the feelings that we are in right at that moment. So after I wrote down my pros and my cons for all of my options, I then kind of moved forward with what I thought was the best option. And so while I recorded my self-awareness and figured out what my best options, I really knew that I had to at least focus on some specific activity that I could be in charge of on a day-to-day to really bring in perspective for me. And essentially what I did was I had set out for 30 days that I was just going to take a sheet of paper, and I'm going to pop in a picture of basically the little sheets of paper in the jar that I had used for this particular activity. But essentially what I did, I had to write down something positive in my day that I had observed, that I had experienced before I went to bed each night. Now, I was only, scheduled to do this particular activity for 30 days, but it brought me so much joy where I felt I was looking for positive things to happen in my life. I was actively looking and trying to make positive things happen in my life. Once this happened, I really started to change perspective. So I'm not saying that this completely brought me out of my depression, but it really was a great start for me to kind of start to put language around my emotions and what I was feeling, and anything that I could point out that was contributing to that, I X'd that out. It really quickly. So this here is, these are all of the notes, and I kept them, but these are all of the notes, or some of the notes that I kept during that time. And as you can see, it has like 2016 on there, because that's really when I kind of started this. But I'll just read one of the notes that I had at the time. And this was, I said, 2016, what can I say? I'm glad and blessed to see you. I'm grateful to begin my happiness practice of placing the highest point of my day in a jar. Today's highest point was soaking in the tub to rejuvenate my muscles. I'm on a mission to become the best me, and the time spent in soaking hot water allowed me to release a sense of calmness in the atmosphere. I want to do more meditation and prayer to God so I know I'm washing my cares away. And it was something as simple as that. I just look forward to doing those particular things. And during this particular activity, I made sure that not writing down something on the sheet of paper that I had stuck in my jar, that was not an option. So I hope that you find this video to be helpful, to give you a boost in creating positivity in your life. But before I go, I want to share 2 promises that I really would make a recommendation, or you can kind of create your own promises to yourself. But these are just recommendations from me. So promise number 1, whatever is pruned away from your life because of this process, if you acclimate yourself to the truth and accept it is what it is, and that you're going to move forward to fully being who you were designed to be in this lifetime. Promise number 2, I really recommend for you to vow to yourself to protect your growth and your progress from anybody or anything that could possibly influence you to turn back to become your old self. So I really want to thank you all for joining me in my 10-minute chat. I hope that you come back for our next chat, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.